Hi everybody, I'm back with another junk journal. This time this is Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe was a big influence on Howard Lovecraft and many mystery writers. In fact, today the Mystery Writers Association of America, every year they give out Edgar Awards, and those Edgars are a homage to the original mystery writer who was Edgar Allan Poe. Again, I'm taking this as the perspective that it belonged to Edgar Allan Poe. So I'm going to open this up, the first page. I have some 3 little books in here. These are notes and poetry of Edgar Allan Poe that I tried to recreate. These are actual quotes and notes of his that are in here. Tamerlane, this was 1826. We're talking pre-Civil War. So he was pretty early, Edgar Allan Poe. Tamerlane was his first published piece. It was a poem, long poem. And then I have some book of poetry, some of the more famous ones that we know: Alone, The Raven, probably his most famous. So I have that in here. Then we open this flap up again, and I have some playing cards. Edgar Allan Poe he loved to gamble. It was partially a ruination for him, but he was always in debt. But I have to include that because he did love it. And this is my reproduction of domino cards and the rules for domino cards in here, which was a very popular game of the time. This is a note on Longfellow, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Edgar Allan Poe he always took jobs. He was like the opposite person of Howard Lovecraft. Lovecraft was fearful and afraid to go anywhere. He wanted to stay and just do his writing and nothing else. Edgar Allan Poe took jobs anywhere they needed, and he mostly did like editors and did reviews, but every place that he worked, he was also a contributing editor, contributing reviewer. So he could always have a place to publish his work, and he really was critical. They called him a tomahawk, something like, for the way he chopped up people's works in his reviews. And he especially did not like if he felt like you were plagiarizing another writer's works. He was very staunch advocate for writers' rights, and he felt that Longfellow was a plagiarist, and he publicly accused him of it. And when Longfellow pushed back and tried to go against what he said, he actually published the examples of word for words, like what he thought he was copying, and it was brutal. This is my centered journaling spot here. I'm going to open it up. I have here actually his published pieces and how much he earned with them. Here is really sad. This is his wife, Virginia. I know most people know that he did marry his cousin Virginia, but they were truly in love. And he was a good husband by all accounts to her, and he was his best when she and her mom, his aunt, lived with Edgar. She died young of tuberculosis, like many people did in those days, and this is a mourning ribbon that he most certainly would have had. Included with this is a line from Annabel Lee, which is believed to be written for Virginia. And this sad thing is, he wrote, everybody said that he was never the same. He used to sleep on her grave. He missed her terribly. And he wrote to someone, even an ounce of laudanum was not enough to put me out of my misery. So he actually took laudanum in an effort to join Virginia. This is a poem of Johann Ludwig Tieck, who was an inspiration to Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe's parents were actors. his mother and his father. And here's a copy of a broadside that lists his parents in their acting. This is just this is an article. It's just, I thought was really funny. Like they thought in those days that cigarettes cured asthma, so they promoted it as a health aid. Okay, this I reproduced Edgar Allan Poe's enlistment papers. He enlisted in West Point under an assumed name, Edgar A. Perry, instead of Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar was the middle child of 3 children. No, he was the youngest of 3. And his parents separated. Actually, his father abandoned the family, and his mother was left with the children. And she died also of tuberculosis young, leaving the children orphaned. And they were taken by different families, and Edgar was taken in by the Allans. So he was Edgar Poe, and then he was taken and raised by the Allans, so he took their name in the middle, so it's Edgar Allan Poe. This is just like a little vignette of his Telltale Heart. This is the last line of Telltale Heart, and we know we move the chair and you lift the floorboards and there is the body underneath. So I just tried to do a little recreation of that. This was, like I said, he gambled and he was always bankrupt, not because he didn't work. He always worked, but I think he was raised, the Allans were very affluent, and he probably spent money unwisely on the finer things in life, and gambling and drinking and all kinds of things. He was always begging and borrowing money. And this is a petition for bankruptcy that I created. And it says that he has nothing, no possessions or anything beyond what he was wearing, and a few printed sheets of paper, no use to anyone and of no value, which a few printed pieces of Edgar Allan Poe writing today would be a fortune. This is a reproduction of some Massachusetts dollars. More writing. So this is bizarre. So another writer of the day who ironically is compared a lot of times to Edgar Allan Poe, Thomas Dunn English. And he and Edgar Allan Poe had a feud, another feud, and they took shots at each other whenever they could in their publications. And Thomas Dunn English wrote a story for Goody's Ladies magazine, and it was called The Lady Hubbard by E.A. Poe. Okay, so he was writing as if Edgar Allan Poe wrote it. And it was a way to slam and to criticize Edgar Allan Poe. And Edgar Allan Poe actually died before he was able to answer. And so I just wrote an answer for him because he's really nasty. And Thomas Dunn English also had the gall to write Edgar Allan Poe's eulogy. And they were bitter enemies. It was like really a disgusting thing to do. But so in here I wrote Edgar Allan Poe as if Edgar Allan Poe was writing this to Thomas Dunn English. So he wrote, Thomas Dunn English shall be made to regret his liberalities with my name on his insidious rhyme in Goody's Ladies Hubbard. The true beauty in this rhyme lays not within the prose, but in the fact by imitating me, however poorly, he stumbled upon a method of which allowed him to create his most brilliant work. And to that he hath my most satisfying salutation. So I try to give him the last word on the matter. This, again, is a monogrammed hanky and a little monogrammed ring, gold ring, that he had given to his fiancée. This is a period cabinet card. This is a real one. I have it as being Elmira, which would have been his fiancée before he married his wife Virginia. While he was still living in affluence with the Allan family. He was on his way to go to West Point. Now, Edgar Allan Poe never had a good relationship with his father, Allan. He had a loving relationship with his mother, which unfortunately, when she died, after that, his father disowned him. So when Edgar went away to West Point, in Virginia, he had a girl who he was planning on marrying, and that was Elmira. After he went away to West Point, Mr. Allan told her father that he was going to disown him, that he would not be inheriting his fortune, and his father then, her father, intercepted all the letters that Edgar Allan Poe had written to her. So she believed that he forgot about her, that he went away and he never wrote to her. And so then they fixed her up with someone else and she married another dude. Meanwhile, they were intercepting his letters. Later on in life, after Virginia died, they met up again. And this time she was widowed. And they got re-engaged, and that's when he gave her that gold ring. It was really sweet. But unfortunately, Edgar Allan Poe died before they were able to get married again. And this is a cabinet card I made of Edgar Allan Poe. This is a little fan that I made, which was popular at the time, advertising paper fan. Here's a combination of some real 1800s newspaper articles and fake newspaper articles. This is like a tear out of Murder in the Rue Morgue. And this is pretty interesting. This is called, so he worked for newspapers. He decided to write a story called Mr. Monk Mason's Flying Machine. And he started off the story as if it was a newspaper article. So this is how it's astounding news, and it's telling how this guy crossed the Atlantic in 3 days. And it created like a crazy reaction. People believed it, and they showed up at the newspaper. They wanted more information. It was sort of like Orson Welles' The War of the Worlds, where people thought he introduced it as a radio broadcast, and people believed that it was a real invasion. The same thing happened with this. He put it in as a real newspaper article, and people believed that it really happened. It was crazy, crazy, crazy. And here on the back, I have just a little file. It does open, but you don't have to because this file slips right out. And these are just some of my ways to show his debt. So he had a wooden trunk that he left at the Swan Tavern in Richmond, Virginia in 1849, and they stamped it held for payment because he didn't have the money to pay his stay there. He died and never was able to claim this trunk. This is when he died, 1849. And then later on, his family was able to retrieve it. This is a gold watch that he had given to someone in Philadelphia. This is a penknife that he left as a security for a loan that he left to someone in Richmond, Virginia. So he was always in debt. He always owed money. And, he, like I said, not for the want of not working. He worked his butt off. They say he never lived as an adult more than 3 years in any one place. And there are 4 Poe museums because of that fact, because wherever he did live, they wanted to take him as their own. And there are 4 different Poe museums wherever he lived. Really interesting guy, lasting effect. His work stand the test of time. I mean, people still horrified by them today. And many, many, many writers are influenced by the work of Edgar Allan Poe. So I hope you enjoyed this little look at my tribute to Edgar Allan Poe.